Hello, everybody. What's happening? Back here with a little short but sweet video as promised on the topic of legal versus lawful. We've discussed this a few times before, but we've never actually defined the terms. So let's define the terms and see what you guys think about it from there. So, in so much as legal versus lawful, this question will help you resolve your purpose as to, do I have a lawful purpose, or is my reason for being here strictly agenda driven? Only you can answer that question, either one of those questions, right? And I'll give you a hint though, if your purpose is agenda driven, don't think the judge isn't going to see right through it. So, and dismiss your case and maybe even sanction you, who knows, depending on what it is you're attempting to pull. I've got some news for you. These guys are getting smart. They know shenanigans when they see it. They're sick of it. We're sick of it. We've already clarified that these are political arguments, not judicial arguments, hence the reason I stay in my lane, right? So, what is law? Right? You've heard us joke about this. On our show, we discuss it as law as an acronym, right? Dating back to, land, air, and water, right? So what are we going to make today? Land, air, or water, right? So, but in so much as if you do find yourself in a courtroom, right, somebody is going to ask you, or even in a political question, what is your definition of law? That was actually a very good question, because my brain went right to number 3, which is the set of rules or principles dealing with a specific area of a legal system. Of all these definitions, all 7 of them, number 3 was the one that stood out to me because it's the one I most recognize, right? So when you talk about law, okay, it's your perception, right? Nobody knows what your perception of the law is. So keeping that in mind as we go forward. So what is lawful? Well, not contrary to law. Permitted or recognized by law, or rightful. Excuse me. So if we're going to put that into action, right? Because most of everything that's gone on is fraud. We know that. They know we know that, right? So we're going to start applying principles to law, right? Those bedrock principles. Justice Kavanaugh just spoke of those. So, continuing on, right? Hey, we're going to do this. Let's do it right. So a person acts contrary to the law who does what the law prohibits. A person acts in fraud of the law who, without violating the wording, circumvents the intention. So again, if you're going to utilize something such as what you believe to be contrary to the law, right, and you want to apply one of those bedrock principles to it, especially when you're talking about fraud, okay, this would be a good way to articulate that. So again, this is just, me doing the job that I was instructed to do. So let's get into legal. And this is going to be where we're going to transition from, the paper and putting it into action, right? We already know what is illegal ought not be entered under the pretext of legality. Fundamentally and principally, we know that. So that would make any act claiming to be legal unlawful and void, right? Void ab initio. So how do we get there? So I'm going to start with the third definition of legal: of, relating to, or involving law as opposed to equity, right? Because we've said these contracts are clearly written contrary to the law, right? So there can be no equity, right? The cause of the thing causing is the cause of the effect. -1 will never equal 1. There's no equity, right? The contract fails. So in so much as a legal act, this is any act not condemned as illegal. For example, a surgeon's incision is a legal act, while stabbing is a illegal act. So an action or undertaking that creates a legally recognized obligation, an act that binds a person in some way. So definition number 2 is most applicable. Wait a minute, your contract is written clearly contrary to the law, but you're claiming you want legal action to enforce it. Motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted. And by the way, your contract is null and void. It's void ab initio. It doesn't conform to the letter of the law. So, and again, now we're going to get into common law. Most people that I speak with, this principle is right where their brain goes. We should follow our own law rather than foreign law. Well, again, what's common to you and what's common to somebody else, right? That's making an assumption. And we all know about what assumptions are. So I'm not even going to go into that. But in so much as the first definition, I don't subscribe to this. Many of the attorneys do, and the bar members do, because this is the crap that they're taught, right? That statutory law, that's what they're bound to. So, if you're going to speak to one of them, know and understand the language of which they are speaking. So we say we should follow our own law rather than foreign law. And they say, what case is that? How about Owen versus City of Independence? Can't claim good faith if you know the action you're taking violates state or federal law. Duh, right? So, it's like, you mean to tell me I have to stand here and speak in case precedent just to communicate with this person? Fundamentally and principally, that's flawed, right? What language is that? Much less what law are we talking about? So general federal law, okay, is, again, this is from, obviously 1890, in the period before Erie versus Tompkins in 1938. The judge made law developed by federal courts in deciding disputes in diversity of citizenship cases. And the reason for this was because very few people were actually born here beyond the natives, right? There were still emigrating, there was mass immigration at that point in time, kind of like where we're at right now, so, you have to be very careful when you're going from mass immigration versus invasion, right? Hence the oath to become an American citizen, right? I take this oath freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, right? So, how are you going to hold them to an oath if you don't even know what the oath is? So you see what I'm saying? And of course, this is where we transition from post-industrial, back into judgment must be given by laws, not by examples, right? Because we're not going to stand here and walk around and talk about, oh yeah, how was your day? Oh, Owen versus City of Independence. Oh yeah, how was your day? Oh, pretty much Hardwick versus Vreeken, right? That's, to even think that way is so repugnant, it's ridiculous. But there's a faction of people out there who believe that. So the second definition under the common law is the body of law on the English legal system, as distinct from civil law system, the general Anglo-American system of legal concepts, together with the techniques of applying them. That form the basis of the law in jurisdictions where the system applies, hence the reason. For example, all states except Louisiana have common law as their legal system, right? So this is why I've told many of you, go look at the Tucker Act, and that's all I'm going to say on that. That's Tucker. And that was done right before the Louisiana Purchase. So you can find it that way, without getting too far off topic. So what do we know about this is what is unsuitable or contrary to reason is not allowed in law, right? So when we're going to start getting into reason, we're going to start getting into more of an equity situation, equal enforcement or equal interpretation under the law. See, that's why I said there's so much that goes into this job. And when I was told loosely, hey, go do that thing called loss prevention you do and solve this problem. Knowing and understanding that there was little comprehension as to what I did every day and all the principles of law and all the math and all the sciences and everything that we use in this job, the potential of somebody misusing it became just as apparent as what we're going through now. Hence why you'll notice this as I go along. So in so much as American common law, this is where, most people's brain goes when they think right and fraud never abide together, right? The first definition here, the body of English law that was adopted as the law of the American colonies and supplemented with local enactments and judgments, right? As the culture evolved. So, in so much as the body of judge-made law that developed during and after the United States colonial period, right? Of course, since independence. Again, we're getting into the transition between the colonial period versus the industrial age. What relationship do corporations have to the people and why? And of course, we know how that's been perverted. I mean, duh. So as you get ready to present your political arguments, because that's what all this is. It's all political argument. Consider these couple of questions. What are your next steps? And in what order will you be taking them? What fundamental principles and in what order are you going to apply them? Right? Here's 4, right? These are fairly general but specific. And also, as you proceed, remember going back to the intro, do you have a lawful purpose or is your purpose agenda driven? For me, that was a very difficult question because I knew this was going to be the end result. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't change not one syllable of anything I did, not one action I ever did, not 1 second after being locked away like a caged animal for no just cause, and so on and so on and so on. I'd still reach out to her and help her up the ladder, even still. But maybe I'm just built wrong. You guys make up your own minds. But fundamentally and principally, I know that an unjust law is not a law. Principally, I know that. And of course, if I'm going to stand there and I'm going to hold somebody, a fellow servant, to the standard of justice is to be denied to no one, that includes her. So, and in so much as priority is concerned, as far as I was concerned, ladies first. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you found this content helpful, even if it's only for just your review purposes. And on that note, we will see you guys on the show.